If your husband is controlling and dominating, and you are trying to find your own independence and to feel valued for who you are as a person, then this video is for you. If you are looking on a video on how to control your husband, then bow out now, because that's not what we are going to be talking about in this video. Although you could definitely benefit from some of the other videos we have at Marriage Helper, because control never works and it will definitely destroy your relationship. But first, for those women looking for how to define boundaries, how to speak up for themselves, and how to feel like an equal in their relationship, that's exactly what we're going to begin talking about in this video. It's definitely not something we can solve in just this video, but I can tell you things that you can begin doing now. My name is Kimberly Holmes, and I am the CEO at Marriage Helper. I have worked with many relationships, and we at Marriage Helper have worked with thousands of relationships that have been affected by a controlling and dominating spouse, husband or wife. But today we're going to be talking about when you as the wife feel controlled and dominated and some things that you can do. But first, I want you to know that at the end of this call, I'm going to give you a free resource. So be sure that you stick around. It's a free marriage strategy call that you can have with someone on our team to see what resources we have that you can use to really help you move forward. I'll tell you more about that later. But most importantly, if you're in a situation where you are not safe, where you are physically or mentally, emotionally unsafe, you fear being harmed or you are being harmed, then you need to get to safety immediately. And I highly encourage you to immediately contact the domestic abuse hotline, because there's nothing good that is going to come if you're being hurt right now, if you're being physically hurt, or if you're being traumatized emotionally or mentally. So be sure that you get safe first. Absolutely, first and foremost, I don't think I can say it enough. Make sure that you are safe. Most of the time when we are in a situation where our husband is being controlling towards us, here's what that looks like. Let me explain through a story what that actually looks like. I worked with a couple, this was several years ago, where the husband was very controlling. He told the wife what she could eat, when she could eat it, whether or not she could have a job. He told her she didn't need one. He wouldn't let her have access to the finances. He told her who she should vote for. He told her basically how she should think, but he was very nice. He wasn't hurting her physically or anything like that, but just the way that he would treat her, the way that he would say things to her, stripped her of her identity and made her to where now, after being married for 20 years, she would say, I don't even know who I am anymore. I don't even know what to do without my husband. I don't even know what my life would look like. Because what she had gotten to was feeling like in order to be loved, she needed to do what he wanted her to do, say what he wanted her to say, be who he wanted her to be, just to feel like he would love her, just so he wouldn't leave her. That's control. If you are in that situation and you're saying, yeah, my husband tells me who I should spend time with, how much money I get to spend a week. I mean, if he's controlling, not in the sense of, we have a budget and each of us stick to it, and he has preferences on who I spend time with. It's not like that. Control is where you feel trapped. You feel stuck. And when you tell your husband how you feel, he doesn't listen, and all he wants is for you to do what he wants you to do. So why do people control? Well, you have to ask yourself this question first. Do you believe that your husband is a good person who is currently just in this rhythm of having bad behaviors? Or do you feel like your husband is a bad person with these bad behaviors? Most of the time, people who are controlling are really good people who have been incredibly broken by something that has happened to them. And so most of the time, our need for control comes out of a time when we had no control. Most of the time, when someone has controlling tendencies, you can look back in their life and see that something traumatic happened to them. Maybe it was their parents divorcing at a young age and they felt like they had no control over what was happening to them. Maybe it was something that happened in a career, something terrible that happened and they felt like they had no control. Maybe it was an actual physical physical thing that happened to them that led to no control, there's typically something that makes the person feel like they had no control, and now they want control. And most of the time they don't even realize they're doing it. They think they have good intentions. They think that they're protecting people. They think that they're doing the best thing, and they don't realize how their actions are affecting other people. So maybe that can help you to understand from just a different perspective for a minute what may be leading to some of these behaviors, and really ask yourself, is your husband a good person, or is he a bad person? Or is he someone who is just so hurtful to himself and to others that he is a bad person with bad motives, bad intentions, don't feel safe around him, and so you don't even want to make the marriage work? 99% of the time, it's going to fall into, you know what, my husband's a good person and he has been broken by some things that have happened in his past. So what can you do? Honestly, there's little that you can do to change your husband's behavior right now. Because most of the time, they are going to have to first see that they are being controlling, and then secondly, want to do something to change it. And then thirdly, some of the time, the majority of the time, I would say, get some therapy to overcome where those controlling habits and tendencies are coming from. So that needs to happen long term, and we're going to get to that in just a minute. But there are things that you can begin doing now for you. So you can, and absolutely should, you have the right to say no. You have the right to say, I'm going to eat what I want to eat. I deserve access to our finances. I'm not going to be a doormat. I'm not going to let you be my father and tell me what to do. I will be your equal, and we work on this together. You have that right. Now, you might be intimidated to say those things to your husband right now, especially if you've been married 10, 20 years and never have. Then you could think there's no way he's going to respond well to that. And at first, he may not. At first, it is a psychological principle that when things begin to change in like that in a relationship, then at first, things are going to be a little bit worse before they get better. So understand that if you say, you know what, and this is just an example. I understand it's probably going to be very different in your relationship. But if he says, you need to eat salads every single day, for you to say, you know what, I'm going to eat a hamburger today. And he may very well say, what in the world? You can't do whatever it is. It could be that you say, you know what? I'm going to have the friends that I want to have. Asterisk here, assuming that these friends are good for you, right? Like we can't get carried away with all of this. Well, then I'm just going to do whatever I want to do and not care how any of it affects other people because I'm not going to be controlled. Let's be reasonable adults here. I'm not saying to go and get involved with the mafia. I'm saying that if you just feel like your husband is trying to limit your access to friends, limit your ability to work, limit your access to finances, you have a right to that, and you don't need to be controlled in that way. Sometimes control looks less intimidating. Sometimes control looks like your husband just wanting you to do what he wants to do now, not listening to your feelings, and you have the right to say, you know what? I don't want to do that today. It can look like manipulation. If you don't go along with this with me, if you don't go on this dinner with me with business friends, then I'm going to humiliate you. If you don't keep the house clean, I'm going to take your allowance down. Those are both actual examples that I've heard. So control can look different in different ways, but the bottom line of what I'm trying to get to is you have the right to say, I understand your desires, and that's just not what I want to do today. Or that's not what I want to do tomorrow, or whatever it is. You have that right. You don't have to be a doormat. A lot of times couples see this or wives see this in the middle of a separation or a divorce, where the husband is saying, well, you need to do this. You need to move out of the house. You need to split, you need to get less alimony, whatever it is. They try to control out of intimidation, out of tactics like that. And guess what? As the wife, you can say, I don't need to do that. I'm not going to do that. You have the right. Now, again, this isn't about becoming complete opposite and you becoming the controlling person. You don't control with control. The best way that you can control being controlled is by being a kind, gentle, caring, empathetic, and knowing that you have worth and value, and you don't have to do something just because someone else is telling you to. You get to make your own decisions. This is a huge topic, though. It really is so much that goes into it. And honestly, the only way that long-term your marriage is going to fundamentally change and your husband become less controlling and more equal with you is for you both to realize this, for you both to go through like what we do in our workshops. When we talk about how relationships should happen, how couples should work together, the people who have been controlling in their marriages, which is a lot of people, trust me, I have been one of them in the past, where control has been an issue. A lot of times you don't realize it. The person who is controlling doesn't necessarily realize that they are being controlling. And so the best thing you can do is both of you go through an experience where both of your eyes are opened, especially your husband, where you feel controlled by him, because that's the only way he's going to even begin to see that he needs to change his behavior. When he sees it, how it should be, when he hears it from a reputable source, that is the best thing that can happen. We've seen amazing success from people who've come through our workshop when there's been control in the marriage. So what are the next steps for you? Book that next step strategy session with one of our client relations reps. They will tell you more about our coaching. Our coaching can be extremely helpful to you in this situation to understand how to approach your spouse, how to stand up for yourself, really understand how to apply that to your life. And then our Save My Marriage course, if you are hesitant to speak with your husband right now because you don't want to make things worse, but you need to understand how to actually make your marriage better. You want to give it one final shot before giving up, but you don't want to get him involved right now. Save My Marriage course is the best thing you can do. Ultimately, though, everything is about getting to our workshop because we know marriage transformation happens there. Over a 70% success rate, even if you're in a controlling marriage. We would love to see you and your husband there. But book that call. It's free. They want to hear your story, what's happened, what's gone on, and then guide you to what the next best step for you is right now. We believe there is hope for your marriage. We want to show you how to grasp that hope and apply it to your own life. Let us show you how.